Good morning, students. Shall we begin with the session? Yes, what we have studied in the last class? Nearly odd to me. Am I audible now? Okay, in the last class we have studied about respiration or breathing, how exactly the process of respiration takes place or how the animals breathe. Now coming to the next concept, we have to study transport in animals. Now coming to the first question, which is the medium of transport in animals? Who will transport the nutrients or respiratory gases in animals? Yes, can anyone answer? Which is the medium of transport in animals? Yes, Yogesh, Savita, you have answered it as blood. Very good. Coming to the medium of transport, that is the blood is a medium of transport. Now, what are the points you know about blood? When we say blood, yes, all of you have answered it right. Arpita, Vashini, Kolam, Dikshita, Nandikol, Gagan, yes, very good. Now, coming to the blood, what comes to your mind when we say blood? Yes, all the answers are right. That is transport, the medium of transport in the animals is blood. Yes, Dikshit has told blood carries oxygen. Yes, what are the things that comes to your mind? It is correct, it carries oxygen, correct. Then, what are the point you know? It carries oxygen. Then, blood is a fluid. Yes, Savita has told blood is a fluid. Can we be very specific and can we write it as it is a fluid connective tissue? Yes, it is a fluid connective tissue. In your 9th standard, you have studied about different types of tissues, correct? You have studied about 4 different types of tissue, where which are the 4 different types of tissue that you have studied in your 9th standard? Yes, you have told, yeah, the answer for the previous questions are right. To transport oxygen, carbon dioxide, then you have told it has platelets, then it contains hemoglobin. Yes, all these answers are correct. Now, we are speaking about the fluid connective tissue. You have studied about this fluid connective tissue in your 9th standard, correct? Now, which are the tissues that you have studied in your 9th standard? Which are the different types of tissues? Yes. Yeah, you are answering for the previous question. Manasvi has told WBC, RBC, platelets, lymph. Yes, skeletal tissue. Yes, coming to different types of tissue, there are 4 different types of tissue: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and neural tissue. Under that, while studying connective tissue, you have studied different types of connective tissue. One of that is specialized connective tissue. Under specialized connective tissue, you have fluid connective tissue. Example for fluid connective tissue is blood and lymph. And today we are studying about blood. So, coming to the introduction for the blood, it is a fluid connective tissue, or you can say it is a specialized connective tissue. Now, what are the components of blood? Which are the components of blood? Yes, already someone has answered which are the components. I do not remember the name. You have told it as RBC, WBC, platelets. So, can we say the blood is divided into two main components. One is fluid matrix, that is nothing but the plasma, and then the formed elements. So, which are they? The blood is mainly, it is a specialized connective tissue which is made up of, or which consists of a fluid matrix and then plasma and the formed elements, correct? Okay. Now, the fluid matrix, the liquid component of the blood. What is the fluid matrix? It is nothing but the liquid component of the blood. Now, when we say plasma, first we will speak about the plasma. You are answering it right. You have told RBC, WBC, platelets. They come under formed elements. What you have answered? The RBC, red blood cells, WBC and platelets, correct? This come under formed elements. Now, before that, coming to plasma, what is a plasma? Plasma is a viscous fluid, a thick fluid which is in the straw colored. What is the meaning of straw colored? It is a straw colored viscous fluid. What is the meaning of straw colored? It is a straw colored means a light yellow or the pale yellow color. Yes, Manasvi has answered it as light yellow. Very good. It is a light yellow or pale yellow, a slightly thicker fluid. When it is slightly thick, you call it as viscous, correct? So, it is a viscous fluid. Now, what do this plasma consist of? This plasma consists of water, protein and organic and inorganic components, okay. Along with the water and protein, it also has organic and the inorganic components. This is about the plasma, okay. Here we have not explained, we have not studied about how exactly the transport will take place. Here we have just studied the medium of transport is blood, and blood, what type of tissue is the blood? Blood is a fluid connective tissue, and the blood is made up of three main components. One is a fluid matrix, the plasma and the formed elements, okay. Now, when we say plasma, plasma is the viscous fluid which is straw colored, okay. It is a viscous fluid, it is a straw colored, and it has water, protein and the organic and inorganic components, clear? Okay. We are studying about the formed elements. The formed elements, which are the formed elements? They are RBC, WBC and platelets, okay. Which are the formed elements? RBC, WBC and platelets, clear? Now, you know RBC, WBC and platelets. What is the function of RBC? They are the blood cells, or you can call it as blood corpuscles. You can call it as red blood cells, or RBC is also called as erythrocytes. What are they called? Erythrocytes. And the WBCs are called as leukocytes. What are the WBC called? They are called as leukocytes. And the platelets are called as thrombocytes. Okay, what are platelets called? They are called as thrombocytes. They are called as thrombocytes. Is this clear? Okay. Now, this is about the blood. Now, what is the function of blood? Yes, you have answered it correct. Yes, Nirmala has told leukocytes and erythrocytes, Ranganath has told the WBC, Manasvi has told WBC as leukocytes. Yes, all the answers are correct. Okay. Now, coming to the function of blood. What is the function? Do they have any particular function? Yes, a transport of, yes, you have told WBC fights against the infection. Very good. You can say WBC fights against the infection, or you can say it helps in the defense mechanism of the body, correct? It helps in the, when we say fights against the infection, it is nothing but it helps in the defense mechanism. Now, when we say RBC, RBC will help in transport of respiratory gases. So, what is the function of RBC? Transport of respiratory gases, correct? It helps in the transport of respiratory gases or exchange of gases, okay, you can say carry, okay, good. Then plasma helps in the transport of nutrients, hormones, correct? It helps in the transport of nutrients, it helps in the transport of hormones, and some of the proteins that is present in the plasma also helps to clot the blood. Blood clotting, for example, we have fibrinogen which is present in the plasma, the protein called fibrinogen which is present in the plasma that helps in the clotting of blood. And also the function of platelets, the platelets also helps in the clotting of blood. Is that clear? This is about the small introduction regarding the blood. Now, what happens if the transport is not taking place in the body, or what is the reason of transport? Yes, transport and protection, correct? Transport of respiratory gases, correct? Yes, Yashwanti has answered it right, Hemant, yes, very good. All the answers which you have given here, they are correct. Now, why do our body require this transport mechanism? There are in our body in certain regions the tissues or the cells, they get damaged. For the repairing of the cells or for the to meet the requirement of the nutrients for the various parts of the body, we require this transport system. Is it clear? Yes. Now, coming to which organ that helps in the pumping of blood, you know, or the blood will get transported, and you know the function of blood now. Now, who will help in this transport? Who will help in the transport? Yes, who will help in the transport? Yes, heart. Who will help in pumping? When we say to pump the blood, you know, the blood will be pumped. It might be oxygenated or deoxygenated blood, correct? Now, who will pump the blood? Very good. The heart will pump the blood, correct? Okay. Now, when we say heart, the function of heart is to pump the blood, and who will carry the blood from the heart? Who will carry the blood from the heart? Now, the blood which is pumped by the heart will be carried by arteries, okay? It will be carried by first aorta. Aorta will give rise to different types of arteries, or you can say systemic arteries, okay? It is taken by the arteries. This much is clear? Yes? Yes, you have told pulmonary artery. Remember, pulmonary artery will not carry the oxygenated blood, it will carry deoxygenated blood. We will speak about the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood later, but before that, remember, the pumping of blood is done by heart, and the heart will pump the oxygenated blood through aorta. What type of blood is pumped here? Oxygenated through aorta. From the aorta, it is carried by systemic arteries. Okay, it is carried by whom? Systemic arteries. Arteries will give the blood to arterioles. Okay, it will be taken up by whom? Arterioles. Okay, the fine branches of arteries are arterioles, and the arterioles will give the blood to the capillaries. Okay, it will give the blood to whom? Capillaries. Capillaries will give the blood, or exchange takes place between the tissue or the cells. This much is clear. How the blood is carried? It is pumped by the heart. What type of blood is carried by the aorta? The oxygenated blood, which is taken up by the systemic arteries. Systemic arteries give rise to the fine branches called arterioles. The blood is carried to the arterioles. From the arterioles to capillaries. Capillaries will give the blood. The exchange of blood takes place between the, if this is a blood capillary, here there will be the cells and tissues. The exchange takes place between the capillaries and the cells and tissues. Now, these cells and tissues will give out the waste product in the form of carbon dioxide, which will be taken up by venules, which will be taken up by what? Venules, and then the venules will give rise to veins, which will give the deoxygenated blood. What type of blood? Deoxygenated blood to the veins, and this veins will connect to the major veins called vena cava. Which are the major veins? Vena cava, correct? And this vena cava will pour the deoxygenated blood to heart. This is how the transport will take place. Understand the concept. This is given in your textbook. Remember, it is a very simple concept. How exactly the blood is carried away from the heart and towards the heart. Is it clear? Okay. Now, you want me to repeat this? You want me to repeat this again? Yes, vena cava, Nalina has told superior and inferior vena cava. Correct. Vena cava, when we say, we have superior and inferior vena cava. Have you understood? Yes, if you want me to repeat, just comment it as a repeat, so that I can understand, because yes or no, the answer I am not very clear about this. If you want me to repeat, just write repeat there. Okay. Yes, most of you have asked to repeat. Remember, here we have studied how exactly the blood is carried to the cells and tissues and how it will reach back to the heart. You know, the pumping part, the pumping system of the heart, which is the pumping part of the heart, which will pump the blood? That is heart. This much is clear. Heart will pump the blood. So, what type of blood is pumped outside the heart? Through aorta, that is oxygenated blood. What type of blood is pumped? Oxygenated blood. Now, this will connect, the aorta will connect to the arteries. Okay, there will be number of arteries. The artery will give the oxygenated blood to the systemic arteries. This systemic arteries will give rise to number of arterioles. Okay, it give rise to number of arterioles. So, the blood, the oxygenated blood will move from the arteries to arterioles. Yes. Now, arterioles which receives the oxygenated blood will give the oxygenated blood to the capillaries. Okay, it will pour the blood to the capillaries. Near the capillaries there will be cells and tissues. Okay, so this oxygenated blood is given directly to the cells and tissues from the capillaries. The cells, in the last class you have already studied, it will utilize the oxygen, the cell, and it will give out carbon dioxide. For the metabolic process, it will take up the oxygen, and what it will give out? It will give out carbon dioxide. When it gives carbon dioxide, it is again collected by the capillaries, and then it is given to whom? It is given to the venules. Is that clear? The deoxygenated blood or the carbon dioxide rich blood is taken up by venules. From the venules it reaches veins. Okay, from the venules where it will reach? It will reach the veins. From the veins to vena cava, all the veins will connect and pour the deoxygenated blood to vena cava. When we say vena cava, you know they have superior and inferior vena cava. Okay, we have superior and inferior vena cava, which will receive the deoxygenated blood and pour into the heart. Okay. Now again the heart will pump the deoxygenated blood through pulmonary artery. Through whom? Pulmonary arteries. You have studied, you have already told about pulmonary artery. The heart will pump what type of blood to the pulmonary artery? Deoxygenated blood, which will reach the lungs. So the deoxygenated blood will reach the lungs. In detail about this we will study, but this is the outline for you how exactly the blood is transported. Yes, pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood. Yes, it is the only vein which will carry oxygenated blood. Is this part clear? If this is clear, we will move to the next concept, that is heart. We have to study about the heart. This is a outline how the blood is transported in the animals. Okay, now coming to the next concept, we have to study about the human heart, the structure of human heart. Then later we will study about, or shall we study about the different types of chambers of heart in the lower organism, then in the higher organism, so that I can continue with the heart. So in your textbook it is given under the topic oxygen enters the blood, in the lungs. Okay, in that they have given about this, the different chambers of heart. We will study about it. Now when we say heart in the vertebrates, the chambers of hearts are different in the different animals. Now if I say fishes, first I will explain this so that it becomes easy for you to understand the later concept. First, if I take fishes, or you can say Pisces, you have studied about the diversity in the living world. There you have studied about fishes or Pisces. Then you have studied about amphibians and reptiles. Amphibians and reptiles. Then you have studied about aves and mammals, correct? While studying vertebrata, you have studied all this. Am I right? Now, how many chambered heart do fishes have? How many chambered? How many chambered heart do fishes have? Fishes have, yes, Shreya B has answered 2 chambered, Yogesh has answered 2, very good. Yashwanti has answered 2, yes, correct. The answer which I have given is correct. They have a 2 chambered heart. How many chambered heart do they have? They have 2 chambered heart. Then we say amphibians and reptiles. Amphibians and reptiles, they have how many chambered heart? Amphibians and reptiles have 3 chambered heart. And when we say aves and mammals, okay, aves and mammals, we have 4 chambered heart, correct? We have 4 chambered heart. Now, which are the, or how exactly in fishes the 2 chambered heart? Yes, all the answers are correct. I cannot call out the name because all of you are answering it right. Now, when we say 2 chambered heart in fishes, which are the 2 chambers? Which are the 2 chambers? Which are the chambers? One auricle or atria and one ventricles, correct? Here they have the gills. Now what happens here? The blood that, the oxygen that enters through the gills will directly reach the blood stream. Elli hogtade blood? Oxygen direct agi blood streaming hogtade. And the blood that enters the heart will give out all the oxygen and reaches, the deoxygenated blood will reach the atria. Yava type of blood heart ige reach agtade? Deoxygenated blood. From the atria the blood will be moved to the ventricles. From the ventricles the carbon dioxide will be pumped out. The deoxygenated blood is pumped out. So they have 2 chambered heart which helps in the removal of carbon dioxide. And here remember, the blood enters the heart in the form of carbon dioxide, deoxygenated blood. Okay, the deoxygenated blood is carried by the heart. Here what happens? The oxygenated blood do not enter the heart, so it is called as venous heart. Yes, because they didn't, yes, why the dissolved oxygen will enter here? Because they cannot take up the oxygen from the atmosphere. That is correct. Do you have any question regarding two chambered heart in fishes? Yes? And here you can say there is mixing up of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, there is mixing up of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Yes, you have asked me to repeat. Remember, when we say different types of animals, the chambers of hearts are also different. When we say fishes, here they have how many chambered heart? They have two chambered heart. Which are the two chambers? One atria and one ventricles. If you want me to draw very specifically, they have two chambered heart, correct? One auricles and one ventricles. Okay. The blood which will reaches the auricles, then will move to the ventricles. From the ventricles it is given out. Here this is how the transport, or it is pumped by the heart in case of fishes. It is not much complicated, they are very simple organisms. Okay. Now coming to next one, in amphibians and reptiles you can say they have three chambered heart. So the three chambers look somewhat like this, which is right atria, this is left atria, and this is one ventricles. They have three chambered heart, correct? 1, 2 and 3 chambered. Now here the left atria, sorry, this is left atria, I am sorry, this is left atria and this is right atria, correct? The left atria will receive oxygenated blood. Who will receive the oxygenated blood? Who will receive the oxygenated blood? Who will receive the oxygenated blood? Left atria. Who will receive the deoxygenated blood? Right atria. Okay, the right atria will receive deoxygenated blood, the left atria will receive oxygenated blood. But both the blood get mixed in the ventricles. Okay, what happens to the blood in the ventricles? It gets mixed in the ventricles. So here what happens when the blood is pumped out? What type of blood is pumped out here? The mixed blood is pumped out. Okay. So you can call it as incomplete circulation. So what do you call it as? What type of circulation you can see in amphibians and reptiles? It is called incomplete because there is no segregation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. But in case of aves and mammals, how many chambered heart do aves and mammals have? How many chambered? Yes, they have 4 chambered heart. You can call left atria, left ventricles, right atria, right ventricles, correct? You know which are the 4 chambers. Okay. Now, here what happens? The oxygenated blood is taken up by the left atria, will be given to the left ventricles and taken out through left ventricles itself. Similarly, the deoxygenated blood is taken by the right atria, right ventricles and given out through right ventricles itself. So, is there any mixing up of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood here? Do oxygenated and deoxygenated blood will get mixed here? No. Since there is no mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood and the blood enters the heart twice, one in the oxygenated form, the other one in the deoxygenated form, the circulation is called as double circulation. What is the circulation called? It is called double circulation. Clear why is it called as double circulation? Yes? Yes. Now, why there is no mixing up of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood? Here they utilize energy to maintain the body temperature. Okay, in this process they utilize energy. If the energy is utilized, the body temperature will be balanced. What is double circulation, you have asked? Remember, double means 2, correct? Here the blood enters the heart twice. Okay, blood heart ಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಲ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ? 2 ಸಲ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನೇಟೆಡ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಯಾವ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ? ಡಿಆಕ್ಸಿಜನೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬ್ಲಡ್ 2 ಸಲ ಹೋಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನೇಟೆಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಆಕ್ಸಿಜನೇಟೆಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ನಾವು? ಡಬಲ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. 2 ಸಲ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಹಾರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ 2 ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಪಂಪ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್? ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ double circulation. Yes, do you have any question regarding different types of circulation? Which gives out the oxygenated blood to other parts in fishes? The oxygenated blood directly reaches the bloodstream in the fishes. Okay, directly reaches gills in the dissolved form, dissolved oxygen blood ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಆರ್ಟರೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. What is systemic circulation? The circulation that which is taken from the, when we say circulation, double circulation, we have pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. The transport of oxygenated blood throughout the body is called systemic circulation. The oxygenation of blood is called pulmonary circulation. Left ventricles, right atria is systemic circulation. Yes, correct. Left ventricles, which starts from the left ventricles and then reaches the right atria. We will speak about the systemic circulation later. I have not explained about systemic circulation. Once we study the structure of heart, then we will move about, then we will study about the systemic circulation. Okay. Define Aves. Aves is a class that comes under which one? Vertebrata. Okay. After vertebrata, you have the division agnatha and gnathostomata. Under gnathostomata, you have further superclass as Pisces and tetrapoda. Under tetrapoda, you have 4 subclasses. Under that, you have amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals. And aves are nothing but birds which comes under class tetrapoda and class aves, superclass tetrapoda and division gnathostomata, subphylum vertebrata which comes under the phylum chordata. Is it clear, Rupa? What are aves? Can you tell the difference between reptiles and aves? When we say reptiles and amphibians, I am sorry who has asked this, I do not know where the question has gone. Will you explain the transportation in plants? So, regarding the botany part about the plants, Prajvit sir will explain in the next class, where you have asked about the cells, about the mitochondria. He will explain the structure about mitochondria, how exactly the ATP will be broken down, that you will study there. And then regarding the transportation in the plants will be done by the botany sir. Okay. Okay, let us get back to the topic. This is about the different types of circulation. Now we will study about the structure of heart, structure of human heart. When we say human heart, it is muscular in nature. What is the meaning of muscular? It is made up of muscles. Which is the muscle, major muscle that is present in the heart? Which is the muscle? Which muscle? The major muscles. Yes, cardiac muscles, which is made up of, very good, the cardiac muscles. Now, you know the size where the heart is located. It is located at the center, at the thoracic cavity, which is called as mediastinum. Okay, the location which is called as mediastinum, that is at the center. Okay, it is located at the center, which is slightly tilted towards the left. Okay, it is slightly tilted towards left. You cannot say it is completely located on the left side. It is located at the center, but it is slightly tilted towards the left, okay, and the size of the heart is a clenched fist, or you can say clenched fist means mushti anta helteve ನಾವು correct ನಾವು left hand ಅನ್ನು ಮುಷ್ಟಿ ಹಿಡಿದಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮುಷ್ಟಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ, that will be the size of our heart. Then coming to the structure, the heart is divided into how many chambers? 4 chambers. The heart is divided into how many chambers? 4 chambers. Which are the 4 chambers? Yes, 2 upper chamber and 2 lower chamber. The upper chamber is nothing but this is nothing but the left atria, or you can call it as auricles. This is the left ventricles, this is the right atria, and this is right ventricles, correct? These are the 4 chambers of heart. Then you know the left side will deal with oxygenated or deoxygenated blood? Oxygenated blood. So who will carry the oxygenated blood? From the lungs, correct? From the lungs the oxygenated blood will be carried. Now who will carry the oxygenated blood from the lungs? That will be carried by pulmonary veins. It will be carried by pulmonary veins. The oxygenated blood, will draw it in the blue color. From the lungs the oxygenated blood is carried by pulmonary veins. Okay, it is carried by pulmonary veins. This much is clear? And it is the only vein which will carry oxygenated blood. Remaining all the veins will carry deoxygenated blood. The only vein that will carry the oxygenated blood is the pulmonary vein, which will carry the blood to oxygenated blood to left atria. Clear? Okay. Now we have vena cava. The next we have vena cava. Superior and the inferior vena cava. This is superior vena cava, and this is inferior vena cava. Now superior vena cava will carry the deoxygenated blood. What type of blood is carried? Deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body. ಮೇಲಿನ part of the body in the deoxygenated blood ಅನ್ನು right atria ಗೆ ಯಾರು ತರ್ತಾರೆ? Superior vena cava. The inferior vena cava will carry the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body. Lower part of the body in the deoxygenated blood ಅನ್ನು ಯಾರು ತರ್ತಾರೆ? Inferior vena cava. This much is clear? Now, so can we say the left atria will receive oxygenated blood and the right atria will receive deoxygenated blood? From where? From the pulmonary veins and from the superior and inferior vena cava respectively. Is that clear? Now, the blood from the left atria will move to left ventricles. Okay, it will move from the left atria to left ventricles through the valve called as bicuspid valve. Through the valve called as bicuspid valve. valve. It is not valve, we are speaking about the valve. The blood, the oxygenated blood is moving from the left atria to the left ventricles by the valve called as bicuspid valve. Okay. Now what happens? It is nothing but a small opening which has a muscular flap. Itara muscles irtade adralli, muscular flap. When the blood will move from the left atria to the left ventricles, there is a chance of movement of blood or backflow of blood from the left ventricles to left atria. So adu vapas blood hogbardu anta helidre alli yaradru obru guard irbeku, correct? That guard is nothing but the bicuspid valve. Is that clear? Clear? Yes, prevents the backflow of blood. Okay. Now similarly, ma'am, where the valves are present? Yes, Yashwant has asked, Yashwanti, where the valves is present? Both the side, between the left atria and left ventricles and the right atria and right ventricles, they have valve. Between the left atria and left ventricles, the valve present is called bicuspid valve. A valve anna enanta helteve? Bicuspid valve anta helteve. The one which is present between the right and left atria are called right atria and right ventricles are called tricuspid valve. It is called tricuspid. Illi mooru muscular flap. How many muscular flaps do they have? 3. Okay, here how many muscular flaps do they have? 2. The function of both the valve is, it prevents the backflow of blood from the ventricles to atria. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನೀರು ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ, ಅದು ಪುನಃ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಲಿಡ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೇವಲ್ವಾ. ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ಲಿ ಆ ಲಿಡ್ ಥರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಪುನಃ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗಬಾರ್ದು, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಫ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್. ಇಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್, ರೂಪಾ? Yes. Now coming to the next. Okay. Now you know the blood has reached from the auricles to the ventricles. Who will carry them out? Who will pump them out? So from the left ventricles we have aorta. What do we have? We have aorta. What is the function of aorta? It will carry, what type of blood it will carry? Oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood is present where? In the left ventricles. So from the left ventricles what is arising? We have aorta. Is it clear? Okay, aorta arises from where? From the left ventricles. So the oxygenated blood, when the ventricles will contract, yavaga ventricles contract agtade, when the ventricles will contract, the oxygenated blood is carried by the aorta. Is it clear? Okay. Now from the right ventricles, if you see here, this is the right ventricles. From the right ventricles to carry the deoxygenated blood, they have a pulmonary artery. What do they have? They have pulmonary artery. So who will carry the deoxygenated blood? The pulmonary artery. It is the only artery which will carry deoxygenated blood. Uldella arteries yavadanna carry ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ? Oxygenated blood. The only artery that will carry deoxygenated blood is pulmonary artery, and this pulmonary artery will arise from where? From the right ventricles. So the left ventricles completely deals with oxygenated blood, the right ventricles completely deals with the deoxygenated blood. Okay, is this part clear? Yes. If you have not understood, I will explain it in a box diagram. See, this is 4 chambers. This is just for your understanding. You do not write it in this way in your examination. This is for your understanding. Clear? This is right atria. This is left atria. This is right ventricles. This is left ventricles. Clear? The blood is carried to the left ventricles by pulmonary veins, to the right atria by vena cava. It is, which are the 2 vena cava? Superior and inferior vena cava. This much is clear? Idu eldrigu artha aita? Okay. Then the blood will flow from the right atria to right ventricles, similarly from the left atria to left ventricles. It is regulated by the valve. What are the valves called? Here it is called bicuspid valve, here it is called tricuspid valve. Okay, here it is called tricuspid valve. Is it clear? Then the blood is moving from the atria to ventricles both the side. Now who will pump the oxygenated blood from the left ventricles? That is aorta. Who will pump? Aorta. Aorta will carry the blood from the left ventricles to various parts of the body, and the blood is oxygenated. Who will carry the deoxygenated from the blood from the right ventricles? That is pulmonary artery. Who will carry? Pulmonary artery, and it is called oxygenated blood. Aorta will take the blood. This is already explained. Aorta to the systemic arteries, arterioles, capillaries, blood and tissues. First ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು chart explain ಮಾಡಿದಲ್ವಾ, the same thing will continue. And the pulmonary artery will give the blood to lungs. It will be given to lungs. From the lungs, who will carry the oxygenated blood? Pulmonary veins. Circulate ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಆ ಥರ. Clear? This is about the structure of heart. Here we have not studied how exactly the exchange will take place, how it is carried. Just I have told that how exactly the transport is done. Okay, we have to study how exactly the double circulation. We have not studied about systemic and pulmonary circulation. We have to study about the systemic circulation, we have to study about pulmonary circulation, we have to study about cardiac cycle. Have you understood this much? Pulmonary artery, carbon dioxide. Yes, you have asked me to repeat which concept again? Carbon dioxide, pulmonary artery. So you study this much and pulmonary function. See, pulmonary function means the arteries that arises from the lungs are called as pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins. The pulmonary artery will carry the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The pulmonary veins will carry the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. About the parts of function. What is the meaning of parts of function? What is the diffusion? Yes, the diffusion is nothing but the exchange of gases between the semi-permeable membrane, okay, from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. What is function of alveoli? Alveoli helps in the exchange of gases. This is CO2, sorry, of carbon dioxide. Function of alveoli, I am sorry, it is CO2. Okay, in the next class we will study how exactly the pumping of heart will take place, okay. Where the alveoli is present? Alveoli is present in the lungs. It is a part of a respiratory structure. Okay, why does hemoglobin molecule act as inefficient carrier of oxygen than the diffusion process? Because hemoglobin consists of iron molecule, and iron molecules can carry, each iron molecule can carry one molecule of oxygen. So, one molecule of hemoglobin can carry 4 molecules of oxygen. So, more amount of oxygen will be carried by the RBC cells, so the process will be faster. Okay, in the next class we shall discuss about the concept. We will continue with the same concept. We have to study more. We have to study about circulatory system, cardiac cycle and the double circulation. Okay, thank you.